Hey everybody, I just wanted to take a minute and make this video. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this girl. The only times I've seen her videos is up on Facebook when I'm going through a news feed and I see a video and it's on the related video link. She she's a dumbass. Okay. Usually I don't judge people I don't know, or at least I don't try to. I really don't. But this girl is just a dumbass, okay? Everything that pretty much comes out of her mouth is just complete bullshit. I don't know if she's actually being serious, if she's doing it for fun. I don't know, but all I know is whatever she's talking about is usually just straight up dumb. Um, she made a video that really struck a chord in me about how in the video she was dating a guy and it was about domestic abuse. And she was saying that if your significant other, your boyfriend, your husband, whatever hits you, then you should stay with that guy because that shows that he loves you and he's taking it in hand to keep you under control. I grew up around domestic violence. My parents weren't domestic violence towards each other, probably because my parents were never married. My mom and my dad were together from the time that probably like a year or two before my sister and I were born. I'm a twin. Until we were about 4 or 5, I think. Sounds about right. Seems about right. I have an older brother, so I could probably ask him. He's 4 years older than me. He'd probably remember a lot better than I could. But my aunt and uncle, I usually stay with them during the summer, any vacations, went over there during weekends, stuff like that. And when they were sober, they were completely fine. There wasn't any fights. If they did fight, it was a pretty small argument. They tried not to do it in front of the kids, normal stuff. When they were under the influence of alcohol, usually, my uncle is a funny drunk. He's the type of person where you can sit down, you know, play a game of cards. It'd be really funny. My aunt, however, was a very violent alcoholic. And, but my aunt was a very violent alcoholic. And anyone in my family can tell you. We would go to bed, we would wake up in the morning after they were drinking, and whatever room they were drinking in would be completely trashed. Um, Everything glass would be shattered. Usually, only the TV was safe. They had a glass coffee table once. It did not last over a week. Things like that. So, been around domestic violence pretty much my whole life. I don't think that is something to joke about. I really don't. There are cases where it just goes one step too far. Someone either gets really hurt and they get hospitalized or they end up dead. And that's not something to joke about. It's not. If you're in a relationship and you are being abused, I would say try and get away from that person. It's not as easy as it sounds. I know. I've had a couple relationships where it either looks like it's going to develop into some violent tendencies or there has been violent tendencies and it is hard to get away from, but the sooner that you do it, the easier it'll be and the safer you will be. Um, the only thing I can say is ask for help. Honestly, ask for help. Whether it's going to the police, going to a family member, whatever. My best friend of over 11 years right now, which coincidentally is my ex girlfriend. Um, she was in a relationship with her ex fiance and he was doing drugs. And at the time, he wasn't violent or anything, but after he got off the drugs, they're still living together until he can find a place that he can move to. And and she just got done telling me a few days ago about how they had a fist fight, probably about a week or so ago, is when the fight took place. And she told me probably like 2, 3 days ago about this happening. And he got up in her face and they were arguing. And she kept on telling him, step back. And he wasn't doing it. And he finally raised his fist and it looked like he was going to hit her. And she struck first. And she punched him 3 times right in the face, right after another, before he could even move. And once he figured out what happened, he lunged at her and tried going to her throat. I would just say, get away from that person. Don't let it consume your life, because at one point in time, it's either you're going to get away from them or it's going to get so bad that the only way you're going to get away from them is if someone calls the cops and they drag them away from you in handcuffs. Or if you're a guy and your girl is doing this, then they're going to drag her away in handcuffs. Because that happens all too often, is when, you're in a relationship and there's domestic violence, and people assume that it's mostly guys who are causing the domestic violence, but usually it's more girls who are doing that, because a lot of guys were raised, depending on your age and the generation you were raised in, guys were raised not to hit girls, not to raise their hands to girls. And, that upbringing has stuck with them, and it's the girls who are lashing out. And it gets to the point where you just feel emasculated and you probably think, this is my fault, there has to be something I can do to make it better, but there's not. It's just that person's fault. You just got to leave them alone. You got to walk out on them. I understand if, like, you have kids or you're married, you got to go through the whole divorce process. You want to stay together because you have kids and you don't want to put your kids through a separation. You want them to have both parents, but you got to think of it. If they're going to lay your hands on you, then they might just put their hands on the kids. It's not that far of a leap. It's not. You got to do what's best for you and the kids if you have kids in this situation. You really do. You just got to look out for yourself first and foremost. If it's just you and your partner and you don't have kids, you got to do what's going to be best for your health, whether it's physical, mental, emotional. You just got to step out. There's a bunch of hotlines that you can call. I'm pretty sure that there's family members that you can talk to. There's friends, whether it's one of your friends or one of their friends. Not everyone is going to accept this. Most people don't. They see it as wrong. And that's exactly what it is. It's wrong. So, yeah, I had to go in a little rant. So, okay.